Dear students, in last video we looked into the isoheital method and we will extend this isoheital method to develop depth area relationships. In hydrology, depth area relationships are typically used to understand what is the spatial or areal distribution characteristics of storm under consideration. For example, a storm hit certain part with an eye centered around city A, and we are interested to know that what is the average amount of precipitation that area of magnitude A kilometer square might have received because of this rainfall developing. Now we learned that when we were looking into the catchment, we can simply look into these ISO heights, and if we know the level of ISO heights P1, P2, Pn and so on, we can easily keep on multiplying that with an area and we can average it out for the entire watershed. And we will put the same concept to use, but instead of just restricting ourselves to that watershed, we can generalize this expression over a given area, and we call such relationships that we develop as depth area relations. So how these relationships would look like? So we will try to get a output plotted on a graph where on x-axis we will have area, that is at certain distance from I we would span some area in square kilometer, and on y-axis we are going to have depth of precipitation, usually expressed in mm. So when we are closer to the storm center, or what we also call as eye of the storm, area is less, but the average depth of precipitation, Y bar, is going to be high. And as we keep on moving away from the storm center, this depth of precipitation would keep on decreasing, and hence the average precipitation that we will receive will also decrease. Now, if we look into this example, that is, let us say that we have two contours. This is representing the precipitation P1, this is representing precipitation P2. If we have to calculate using this ISO height that what is the total amount of precipitation that has fallen over the area, what we will do, we will know that what is this red area, we will also know what is this total blue area. So we will say that area associated with red dot here is equal to A1, and the amount of precipitation that has fallen is P1. So if we multiply area with depth of precipitation, we will get volume of precipitation that has fallen on an average in the area that I have hatched in red. Similarly, if we have to look into what is the amount of precipitation on an average that has fallen into blue area, that would be given by, if this total blue area is A1 plus A2, because we are saying is that we would know the areas of these circles and we can always subtract the inner circle to know what is the value of A2. So what we will do here, we will just focus on A2 by removing A1 from here, and that will just represent the area outside the inner circle, because we have already accounted for that using different isoid. And what we will do, we will multiply this with average depth of P1 plus P2 multiplied by 2. So this is the volume of precipitation that has fallen into region 2. Now if we sum up, the total volume of precipitation that has fallen is simply A1 P1 plus A2 into P1 plus P2 divided by 2. And if we have to calculate average depth of precipitation in the area where we have enclosed in this bigger circle, the outer circle, it would be simply total volume divided by the area of A1 plus A2, where A1 is the inner circle and A2 is the just the area that is outside the inner circle, or what we have hatched in brown color. So we can keep on repeating this particular exercise at different radii, and what we will end up is a plot that is at a given area. For example, here A1, then A1 plus A2, then A1 plus A2 plus A3. For next circle, we will keep on calculating this P bar, P bar, P bar, and whatever plot we will get, we would say that this is the variation of a particular storm depth on an average with area, and this curve is known as depth area curve. Also, sometimes we would be given the duration of storm, that if a particular storm lasted for 24 hours, that meant that once it entered or the eye developed or the low pressure area developed, it poured water for 24 hours. There may be storms of other durations. There may be storm of 10-hour duration, 20-hour duration, 1 hour duration. So we can keep on plotting the depth area curves for all those storms on a same graph paper, and you can imagine that this would be a curve associated with 24-hour. And as we go here, the duration of curve would keep on increasing. So this would be 1 hour, this would be 2 hour, this would be 6 hour, and so on. Because you can imagine if a particular storm has poured precipitation over 24-hour of period, it is expected on an average to pour more depth, and hence the average depth would be higher as compared to a 1 hour storm that we are measuring. So these relationships where we also account for duration are called as depth area duration curves. And these depth area duration curves are used in hydraulic engineering to understand what would be the average amount of precipitation particular area would receive because of the storms of different depths, and it would help us in deciding the level that for which we have to design in the case of flooding. So we will also extend this discussion of depth area curves, and we will design another similar looking curves which we call as intensity duration frequency curves or depth duration frequency curves, which again are very relevant to civil engineering. But right now let us look into one specific example of DA curve, and when we account for duration as well as depth, it becomes a DAD curve. When we are just talking about depth and area, it becomes a DA curve. Now we will try to understand this depth duration curves with help of an example. And this is an example I have taken from textbook, but I will try to solve it little differently so that you get more intuition. So the example states that a data from an isohydral map of a 24-hour storm is given below. Assuming storm has an area of 55 square kilometer and rainfall depth of 57 mm, obtain depth area curve of the storm, and using this DA curve, estimate the average depth of rainfall over an area of 3200 square kilometer. So first of all, whenever you get an information that has so many numerical values, always try to generate a mental map or try to sketch a plot. So here, what I will do is, first of all, I will try to make the isohydral map. So it is said that center of storm has an area of 55 square kilometer. So the iso height corresponding to this would be 57 mm, and this area is 55 square kilometer. Then second enclosed area is given out to be 310 kilometer square, and it says it's an enclosed area. So this would include the area that I am hatching in blue as well as the area that I have hatched in brown. So if you just talk about the blue area, it is going to be 310 minus 55, which would be equal to 255 square kilometer, whereas central area is already marked as 55 square kilometer. I will do this exercise for 3 rings, and you can extend it to other outer rings and keep on doing the calculation as part of your assignment, which I will post shortly. Okay, so let us draw our third iso height, which would look something like this. And the area that we will have here is 1300 is the enclosed area, and that would mean the area that I'm going to hatch in red, that would be just 1300 minus 310, because this inner circle area is the total enclosed area which includes both brown as well as blue, and hence this number comes out to be 990 square kilometer. Now let us calculate what is the total volume of precipitation that has fallen up to this point. So we will say that inner area is A1, so associated volume is V1, V2 and V3. So total volume of precipitation in an inner circle on an average would be equal to 55, which is area times depth, which is comes out to be 3135 mm kilometer square. Again, I'm not changing the units because at the end we will divide it by total area to obtain the average depth and we will get our answer from there. Similarly, our V2, that is the volume of precipitation that has fallen in the area that is hatched by blue, is given by area of that circle, which in this case is 255, multiplied by average depth of precipitation that we can obtain from ISO heights, which in this case is given by 57 plus 50 divided by 2, because you see that the isoheightal level associated with this enclosed area of 310 is 50. So this comes out to be approximately 13642.5, and we can always round it off to nearest integer, and we say that it is 13643 square kilometer. Similarly, volume associated with third portion is equal to 45 plus 50 divided by 2, because the isoheightal level is 45 here, multiply by area, which we just calculated as 990, and it comes out to be 47025 square kilometer. So the total volume of precipitation that has happened up to volume 1, we call it as V accumulated, is 3135 square kilometer. V2 accumulated, whatever has happened in brown plus blue, is equal to 3135, this is kilometer square mm, 3135 plus 13643, and V3 accumulated is 3135 plus 13643 plus 47025. And when we add them up, the values that we get are, this would be just 3135 itself, this would be 16778, and third one would be 63803, all in the units of volume, which is kilometer square into mm, kilometer square into mm, and so on. Now we have calculated the volume. Now we are interested to get the depth area curves. So what we want here, we want A1 area here, and calculate what is the average depth of precipitation that has fallen up to this point. So average depth of precipitation at particular area would be simply total V accumulated divided by total area that we have covered up to that point. So for A1, total area that we have covered is just 55 square kilometer. So we would just say that for A1 corresponding to 55 square kilometer, or the area enclosed, average depth comes out to be the volume 3135 divided by 55, which has to be 57 mm. Similarly, at A2, the total accumulated precipitation that we have is 16778, and the total area that we have covered up to second circle is 310. Similarly, for A3, we get in denominator 1300, and total volume of precipitation that we have obtained up to that point is around 63803. So we keep on calculating these values until we reach end of the storm, and the relationship that we plot on graph paper, we plot it, and if somebody asks us that now you have calculated this and A2 in this case was 310, this was 1300, and if somebody asks us, can you tell me what is the average amount of precipitation that has taken in the area enclosed by 1000 square kilometer, you would say, yes, I know the depth area curve. I will just hit the area equal to 1000, plot a line here, and would calculate what is the average precipitation depth associated with 1000 kilometers square. And this is the typical use of depth area curves, that once we develop these depth area curves for a particular area or for a particular storm, we need not keep on repeating this exercise. In fact, the relationship between average precipitation and area, it's an exponentially decaying function, and the equation or a general equation is given by P average is equal to P naught into exponential minus K a to the power n, where P naught is the highest amount of rainfall that we would receive at center of storm, and this would of course correspond to the first point that we have marked here. K and N can be thought of as slope and intercept that you would typically determine while fitting equations like y equal to mx plus c. But the only difference between the equation is that this would hold true if you are plotting your map on a linear graph, whereas since this is an exponential curve, we would plot the similar relationship on the semi-log scales. And you can plot these semi-scale log scale relationships easily in Excel or on the special graph papers that have one axis on log scale and another axis on linear scale. With that, we come to an end of our discussion on depth area relationships, and in next lecture we will look into some of the statistics associated with precipitation, and we will introduce the important concept of return levels. Thank you.